let's get to the question of the week, which is brought to you by an amazing follower named Tiffany. And she said, should business focus more on customer retention or customer acquisition in the early stages of growth? Moose,
Man,
this is all you. This screams you in your
this is so crazy.
lime
Yeah,
hoodie. Screams you.
thanks. I chose it myself too. I like this color. I think it's of the season. I think
It may be, but it's definitely it's a good color on you.
nice shirt, by the way.
Thank
I
you.
love that brand representing Queens.
Yes.
Yeah, hometown.
Yeah, I got 2 shirts and a hat. It's great. And some stickers.
Nice. I love it. So so it's funny because I think I have survived one of these seasons living in another, right?
Okay.
And that second season is a bit interesting because it actually includes a little bit of both. So when I first, and I want to add emphasis to the fact that she said in the early stages of a business, the thing that I did when I first started was I focused on customer retention because I never felt as though sales was my strong suit, right? Or so I thought. I think we're all really great at acquiring customers or selling or whatever the case may be, but it just depends on how sales was presented to you and what type of relationship you have with it. If you were presented sales the way I was presented, with making 150 cold calls a day and having to force people into your service, it's going to leave a sour taste in your mouth. At least that just wasn't my style of wanting to do business, but that's just the way I started. But I learned a lot from that experience. And so naturally, when I left, I realized that I was a much better operator. An operator in a business is someone who's really, really good at being able to maintain what is required and even exceed expectations so that customers never want to leave you. Right? They don't think about canceling. They don't think about moving on. Whatever problems arise, you still find a way to land on common ground and keep those customers within your business. So that was naturally my skill set. So was that the best skill set for growth? No, but it did help to keep me afloat. So I can't say that it was a bad thing, but I will say that you really, of course, it's going to come back to some level of evaluation of your natural skill set. If I can go back, however, and do it over, I would focus on acquisition first.
Okay. Not bad at that. I would say I would focus, because I think I did the opposite. I think I focused on acquisition when I should have focused on retention, right? So for me, I believe that figuring out the system, figuring out the ins and out of particular customers, clients, that whole nine, and making sure it's like sealed and deliver for the next person to come in. I think that's important in the early stages than necessarily grabbing a whole bunch of people. And you kind of know what you're doing when you're starting out, but you could lose a lot of people where I'm focused on, a small group and having them come back over and over and over again, telling a friend to telling a friend to telling a friend, to then put money on ads to bring more people after I took care of these couple of people right here. So by concentrating on retention and seeing, okay, I could take, for example, I could get $100 for them 1 month. The next month I could get like another 100. The next month, so how much is that within a year? Okay, so let's grab another person who will allow us to pay 100 each month. How many do we need to do to make a certain amount for the year? That's how I need to look at, instead of, okay, let's just bring more. Because, for example, we're dealing with that with deeper than the brand, where we have a large amount of people, but the engagement is not to where we feel comfortable with. And if we would have slowed down in the beginning to just focus on the customer journey, then we would see the results instead of fixing it now. Because right now
Yep.
we're in the fixing stage of that engagement situation.
Yeah. You know what's so interesting is that a lot of entrepreneurs, and you could tell the experience of an entrepreneur based on what type of growth they have.
Mm-hmm.
So there's I guess a known phrase around an inexperienced, or not even an inexperienced, but just a new entrepreneur, someone who is maybe running too fast because they experience stair-step growth,
Mm-hmm.
right? So their growth follows the shape of a stair-step. And by that, you go up, then you have to flatten out. You don't see growth for a while, you plateau until you fix some things, then you go up again and plateau, et cetera, right? Where what I love about what you're doing now, and even what I've done, is you want to focus on both,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah.
But it's, can you give yourself the runway to exactly what you said, figure out your customer journey, your process, your operational methods, how you're going to deliver on the promises that you're making when you're marketing. That's one of the biggest things. A lot of people, especially in today's era, it's so easy to go out and promise the world to your customers. But what's your method for delivering on those promises?
Mm-hmm.
The level that you're able to fulfill on promises is a direct relationship to the credibility that you eventually establish with customers in the marketplace. So that in my opinion is incredibly important when you talk about acquiring new customers or just building your business as a whole. And so to be able to do both, that allows you to experience what they call hockey stick growth, right? Mm-hmm. Which means in the beginning, it's going to be a little flat, and then you're going to see a little uptick. Mm-hmm. But eventually you're going to have an upward angle of growth that's happening month over month. Why? Because you're adding new customers, you're still keeping a majority amount of the customers that you've had previously, and you're doing the same thing over and over, month after month. But that means what? You have a system or a process that's able to maintain the new growth coming in while also servicing or taking care of the people who've come in prior to. That's the perfect balance. So it wasn't planned for us to have almost polar opposite starting points, but I think to land on essentially saying both, just take some time to figure out what's going to be my strategy for acquiring customers, how will I fulfill that, and how do I do that month over month to keep growing my business in that positive direction, that, what do they call that, northeast standpoint.